Well, I am happy to have a new friend on the show today. And this is someone who I got to meet in person and be on a beauty panel discussion with at the Biohacking Congress in Boston last June. We both have an interest in biohacking and beauty, which I know you are all keen about too. So I am talking about Amitay Eshel, and he is a true biohacker and has poured all his biohacking knowledge into the beauty industry. And he is the co-founder and CEO of the first biohacking skincare that I ever heard of called Young Goose. And he's also the host of the Biohacking Beauty podcast that you're going to want to listen to as well, where he shares his biohacking knowledge and he interviews many of our other biohacking besties that you may know of. And he really wants to just educate us all on the latest science to upgrade our performance and health, and not to mention our skin health. And today, Amitai is going to cover the issues that women face in midlife with our aging skin. And our skin and our concerns are different than our younger selves, and the accumulated damage is even more visible. So we become desperate to slap on some miracle cream to reverse our wrinkles and saggy skin. And we try just about anything that comes in front of us. And I know women who have a whole bathroom shelves filled with hundreds of jars and bottles. And I'm a nomad, so I can't do that, but I am allowed to have a couple. And Amitai is going to share with some of his best biohacks for damage control. And he's going to share what ingredients are coming out in the market in skincare and what older women need to pay attention to when it comes to choosing good, high quality skincare. So now, without further ado, let's meet Amitay Eshel. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very excited to be here.
It's great to have you in front of my face again. I haven't seen you since the Biohacking Congress, and I remember one of the first questions I asked you was, why beauty and skincare? You're a guy, right? And what led you down this path, first of all?
Yeah, so it's a great question because I also am a very, I want to say the track that took me into biohacking, and then specifically biohacking the skin basically is has really started in the military. So you can imagine that's even a more of a curveball. But what happened was I got recruited after I was the head of reconnaissance for a special operation group in the Israeli military. I got recruited into basically into the red light therapy field. I was building teams, and I was an executive in a red light therapy company, which back then was called Cold Laser. And what we were really trying to do is take this medical device that costs, tens of thousands of dollars, and try to translate it to basically to something that everyone would like to have in their house. That was the mission, 10 years ago, more or less. And one of the things that we found is people really, really were interested about the benefits that it can give their skin, right? And basically, what I fell in love with was the ability to affect the way that people feel about themselves, the way that they feel about going out there and living their lives, and how they feel about cultivating a healthy body through accessing that innate need and want that all of us have is to love ourselves, to look good, to feel like we are doing the right things for our body, and that it expresses itself in a healthy skin. So to me, it's like an evil plan, to tell you want to look good, you got to basically keep your body in shape. You got to have your body, in the most youthful form that it can operate, and then your skin is going to look great. So it's actually, it's kind of a tricky way for me, because it's just, I call it where the ego parks. For me, if you can see my little black eye, I love doing sports, contact sports, jujitsu, whatever. And what it means is that my ego, if my body doesn't perform well, my ego doesn't like it, right? So I'm doing a lot of things to cultivate my healthy and youthful body. in order to keep up with 20-year-olds on when we spar.
Mm.
But I'm also, in my late 30s, and I'm interested in looking good, and that's also where my ego is parked. So if I wake up and I don't like how I look in the mirror, I feel older, and vice versa, right? If I keep my body young, youthful, and healthy, I see how my skin reacts to that. So it's just kind of a long story to say that I'm trying to help people live their best lives, contribute to the world around me, and to the health of people around me through communicating to them that they're going to have a better skin at the end of the day.
Okay. I think I got a little lost because I was expecting you to say something else because you mentioned the
Okay.
military
Yeah.
and you were working at a company that does red light therapy. So
Hmm.
I was waiting for the story of you saying that you were going to use this red light therapy for some military action. And I think I deviated there. So
Well,
yeah.
well, back then, so red light therapy really started. Well, the first time someone figured out that there is a good benefit to a red colored laser was actually, over 50 years ago, and that's an interesting story because it was a control group for an experiment with blue lasers.
What was the
So
purpose of the blue?
the blue laser was, they basically wanted to see some wound healing responses and also some antimicrobial responses with blue light, with blue lasers, and they needed a control group. It was in rats, and what they did is they shaved the hair off the rats, and they noticed that the control group, that they just needed to choose a color, and they chose a red laser. Basically the hair grew faster on the rats, and they kind of figured out, oh, there's something there. So that's the first story of how red light therapy, or basically red light laser, low level laser, was used. But for since the 80s, 90s, 2000s, it was really used to improve healing in humans, and that took a very positive turn where when LEDs became more affordable, when the LED technology really came to prominence. And what happened was is that these, lasers, that the cheapest one was like 14,000 pounds. The most popular one was like $24,000. They tried to they basically tried to pivot, right? These companies saw themselves as a medical company selling the product to a doctor or medical facility, and they had to kind of think on their feet. Some of them did, some of them didn't. Some of them still hold the antiquated model of selling to patients and selling lasers, etc. But most of them, what they did was they said, okay, we have those LED LED lights that can really replace those expensive lasers. Let's see how we pivot and how we sell it to the general public. And that's where we kind of came in, because what I was doing well in the military is building small teams that operate very well, within those parameters. And when I basically went to the civilian marketplace and tried to capitalize on my experience. My experience was, okay, let's think outside the box and let's build teams, mainly sales teams, because I was mainly hired by tech at the time, so mainly sales team, to try and create a very positive, work environment, etc. And by becoming obsessed with trying to translate this very expensive, very complicated scientific explanation to the general public, we found out that most people just basically said, okay, but it's going to make my skin look better, let me get one for, instead of $24,000, now it was like $500, obviously. So it was a much better trade-off for their return on investment, if you would. But people really were interested in what it would do to their skin. So from, I don't know, from retired athletes and orthopedic surgeons, the entire field really changed to the top 50% earners as far as like, as far as like salary, and mostly women 35 to 55. That's predominant, market for red light therapy at the moment, just to give you an idea.
Hmm. Okay. So you got involved with the beauty part because of
Yeah.
this job that you got with the red light therapy, and you were finding people were really buying these machines because they wanted to have nicer skin.
Yeah,
They
but yeah,
Go ahead.
but that could have been the end of the story, right? Because um, I was interested in optimized performance. I saw these people were interested in, optimized skin for that matter. And
Hmm.
that could have been the end of it. I could have just gone to do another project or whatever, kept being a consultant. We had a pretty successful company for that. And we had some more contracts we were looking at. But the issue was I was still recovering from a few things from the military, injuries, things like that. And to me, it clicked in my head that most of these things are intertwined, right? Like if you are trying to optimize your body, your skin's going to tag along, no pun intended, and vice versa. And one of the things that I got treated with, and it was very expensive, was NAD IVs.
Hmm.
So NAD is also part of that. Well, NAD facilitates what red light therapy does. So to me, in my head, it made total sense that, that's going to be something that's going to find itself into the skincare realm.
Hmm.
And again, my idea was, at the time, it was a vague idea, but the idea was, let's make a connection between optimized body and optimized skin. And if we can basically like profess one and the other one's going to again tag along, that's going to be our perfect scenario. And obviously there are many people out there that um, push for holistic health, but what I recognized that was missing is communicating that in the end of that process you're going to get a better looking you, for that matter, or a better looking facial you know expression of who you are. And again, I got treated with NAD. It was very expensive. It was over $1,000 per treatment at that point in time. And we were at that time also consulting for another small company in the skincare industry. Same idea, looking at a medical application to transferring it to the general population and general consumership. And that was a resveratrol product. So
Hmm.
resveratrol, which is something that is a longevity supplement. The approach that this company had, which was again very early on, as far as like how do we translate it to the skincare market, really intrigued me, and it triggered another like eureka moment where I said, "Oh, NAD is supporting the process that resveratrol is basically stimulating. NAD is something that people take as a supplement, and also resveratrol. To me, it made perfect sense. Let's try and figure out how we can have NAD, elevated in the skin specifically, and then again go back to that loop. Okay, you can also elevate NAD in the body systemically, but your skin needs it specifically, and we can get into why. But that kind of set us down the path of research and development of a skincare product that raises NAD levels and capitalizes on that with specific resveratrol that is for the skin. And that started a biohacking skincare company saying, okay, let's, instead of like go and communicate to the end consumer, oh, all we're going to do is we're just going to make your skin look better, tomorrow. You're going to get some results in like 4, 6, 12 weeks, and then you need to use this forever. No, what we said was, what we are going to do is we're going to communicate with the processes within your body that maintain a youthful state of your cells. And if we go upstream, because in the longevity realm, in the biohacking field, longevity field, what we want to look at as let's say wide influential factors, we call it upstream factors. So we take something that sits upstream and affects a lot of things downstream. And we said if we can affect those things in the skin, we can also create a better looking skin today, but also obviously um, help the skin age in a much better youthful state, therefore looking better as time goes on.
Okay. So I thought you were going to share a story how you had systemic acne or really horrible, like a car accident, or your face was mangled. It's nothing at all like it's a
No.
completely different path, but it's super interesting. And that's
Mhm.
how you got, I get now, the biohacking part. and
Uh-huh.
and maybe just give me your quick definition of biohacking, because some people who are listening to this maybe for the first time have heard of the word biohack or biohacking. What does that mean to you?
Well, my go-to definition is changing the environment within us and around us in order to affect our biology, or in order to direct our biology to a certain direction. That's my go-to definition. But that maybe someone would lose me down that explanation, that long phrase. But really, what biohacking is taking advantage of reactions in the body and distilling only the positive parts of those reactions. So our body has a lot of like mechanisms that are both good and bad. If we fast, our body's going to try and preserve a lot of energy, kind of preserve its cells in a more coherent state, because it needs to now survive for a long period of time without many nutrients. So it kind of tries to conserve itself. But if we are going to fast for too long, obviously, we're going to die.
Mhm.
Okay, that's called starvation. So what's the kind of the most accurate point to where a good process becomes a bad process? We talked about red light therapy. So the light in general, just the sunlight, has red and near infrared, which is within that realm. It's kind of the same thing within what we're talking about right now. It has those wavelengths, but it also has other wavelengths that are not as positive, right? So we're distilling the bad wavelengths or rays like UV and blue light out of that equation, and we're only being left with the ones that affect us positively. So these are two examples, and any type of biohacking modality you could kind of apply the same reason to. It's probably something that our body is designed to do on its own, to react in a certain way, and we're just making sure we're doing it in the optimal way.
Okay. Now I hope everybody got that. We all have different definitions and we expand on them
Mhm.
too. So I love to hear everybody's explanation. So
Yeah.
let's get into, okay, we figured out now that you have a skincare company and you have NAD in there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we talk about just putting something on your skin, what I want to share some of your hacks, because we know there are no miracles. There's no magic
Mhm.
pill, no magic cream. They can, all this stuff that we do in the biohacking world, they can be supportive to other behaviors that are more important to keep our
Yeah.
skin in a good condition. So let's talk about this foundation first. What is a woman in her 50s and 60s complaining about with her skin, and what does she need to do for optimal skin condition?
Well, that's a great question, because and that is kind of, you've now exposed my and our evil plan behind Young Goose, right? Which Young Goose is the skincare brand that we have. Because what we're going to tell you is exactly what's you, Zora, just said. There is no magic cream that's going to override your bad habits. There's nothing that we are only supporting processes that your body wants to do on its own. And if you ask me about things that we need to do in order to improve our skin health and look better, if we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, those would be very simple things that everyone has heard before. But I would like to actually start with muscle mass. Obviously, muscle mass is something that if anyone listens and they're in their 20s or 30s or 40s, that's something that you should be very concerned about right now, because your window of opportunity to increase your muscle mass is, no pun intended, it's shrinking. So the older we get, the more difficult it is, or the more challenging it is to increase that muscle mass. We can use hormone replacement therapy and have it become a little bit easier, but we are still working against a ticking clock here. The reason that muscle mass is going to improve how our skin looks, there's the obvious reason. If anyone has ever seen a person that has experienced dramatic weight loss, their skin is also more loose. So the more volume we can have in our body, the tighter skin we're going to have. That's the obvious kind of easier, example. But we're also supporting other processes when we have sufficient muscle mass. So we're supporting our lymphatic drainage. We're supporting good hormonal balance in our body. We're supporting, obviously, less, and that's something I think we should really get into. We're supporting less accidents. So we can think of aging. So an example I'd like to give, and it's kind of, it's unconventional, and that's why I think it provides a good opportunity to open our minds a little bit in our way of thinking. So did you know that children, they do not grow every day, or even toddlers, babies, they don't grow every day by a little bit. They experience growth spurts. So they're not going to grow for a couple of days, and then they're going to grow dramatically over one night. And we also do not age every day just a little bit, okay? Unless you're eating McDonald's every day, that's a different issue. But
then you're aging a lot, really fast.
Yes, but we age in instances. So we're going to be exposed to radiation one day because we're going to be on a plane, or we're not going to have a good night's sleep for a couple of nights, or we're going to have, a stressful event in our lives. So or we're going to have an injury. We're going to go under the knife, as they say. We're going to have an operation. Sally Ann, which is listening to us right now, we talk a lot about emotional issues that people are undergoing, and cortisol is a big issue as far as aging. So we are also aging in spurts. So what we're really doing when we are maintaining, muscle mass, or we're taking care of our overall health, we're like the movie Rocky, where he's preparing for the fight. The fight is going to come. Our body is going to have to deal with something massive, and it's going to basically try and age us. And the more prepared we are, the less we're going to be aged from that event. So that is what I want you to think of when we're talking about like healthy habits for the skin. It's mainly preventing, aging spurts, if you would. Another thing that, obviously, if someone is dehydrated, but when I say dehydrated, I don't like to say it, because dehydration is a medical issue, okay? So even though sometimes in our marketing, information, you're going to see Young Goose, blah, blah, anti-dehydration solution or whatever, you're not really dehydrated if you can listen to this podcast, let's say it like that, and you're not in a hospital or something like that. But there are levels of hydration that we want to keep in our body, and these are things that actually can be measured. They're hydration metrics. And the more hydrated we are, the more volume we have in our skin as well, in our body as a whole, but we retain more water. And this, I know it's counterintuitive. We're thinking puffy or something like that, but no, our skin's going to be plumper. It's going to be able to withstand things like, the damaging effects of UV radiation, or again, any type of aging accelerator, if you would, by having those extra water trapped in our skin. So very important, keep hydration to a max. And we really want to do it early during the day. Okay. I have a tendency to drink closer to my evenings. That's fine if you need to, kind of recover from a workout or whatever that is. But what you really want to do is start hydrating very early during the day, because most of the harmful sun rays, most of the more active things you're going to do are going to be midday. So if you start hydrating early, you're kind of mitigating some of that. That's another one.
So, okay, just to recap, we've got the muscle mass. We,
Hmm.
retain muscle mass means
Yeah,
exercise or do whatever it is and eat your
yeah.
protein, and and the hydration. And those kind of go hand in hand. I mean, this is it
Hmm.
sounds like you're a sporty guy, you like
Yeah.
athletics, and these are very, very important. So it's interesting to say that because you're right. When you see somebody who loses weight and they suddenly look a bit older because they've lost
Hmm.
the plumpness in their face. So you've solved the problem for me of like, oh, maybe I should, get a little plump as I age because I want to keep those wrinkles at bay. I know you notice those
Uh-huh.
people have fewer wrinkles, and that's because they're
Hmm.
plumped up. So you've solved that solution for me and that worry. And so I will keep my muscle mass and the hydration. So how do you measure hydration?
Well, there are a few hydration metrics. So there are hydration metrics specifically for the skins. For example, now we've just released a public a clinical study we've done on our hyperbaric mask, and that's one of the things that we have measured. So you can measure it with an imaging, component, or you can measure it basically by running a light. I'm trying to break down. There is a name for it, but it's not going to give anyone any help. But what you want to do is basically there is a ray of light that shines through the skin, comes back to a sensor, and through the spectrum of light that comes back, we have a few readings that we can decipher from that. And one of them is hydration. And also do it obviously urine, blood. um, there are biopsies that you can do, obviously, but that's for clinical research. So we can measure them through urine, blood, sweat, and light.
So we just go
Um,
to the doctor and say, yeah, I want to
yeah.
measure my hydration. Give me
Yeah.
whatever it is. But I'd like
Yeah.
to see the hydration in the skin. I mean, if we're talking about
Hmm.
skin in particular, it'd be interesting. Is it different what hydration you find in the skin versus other parts of the body?
Yes, and different. So I'm going to give another example from sports. So a lot of sports are weight based. So the Olympics, for example, they have judo, they have, I don't know, wrestling or whatever, and that is by weight class, right? So what a lot of these people do, or boxers, where you see on TV, a lot of these people, what they do is they actually kind of dehydrate themselves in order to measure, to have a certain weight when they're getting weighed in, so they can compete at a certain weight class. Because there is a lot of brain trauma in a lot of these sports, there's a lot of research that's showing that different organs, it kind of catch up to the hydration at different methods in a different way. So, for example, IVs hydrate the brain or the skin much faster than orally drinking water. By the way, warm water hydrate us much better than cold water. And they also are better for us for other reasons, like basically what cold water does, they shrink some blood vessels because the cold water that are providing blood to the gut. And by doing that, we also have less water absorption, but we also have less nutrient absorption, etc. So
But
in
you have more
general,
fat burning. I understand drinking cold water makes you burn fat faster because you have to warm it up, right? That's what I heard.
yeah, but that's
Trade off.
negligible. You could definitely expose yourself to the cold. That's going to be much better than drinking cold water. Um,
I don't drink
in
cold water
general,
anyways, but yeah, I'd like to hear that. That actually
great.
sounds
I
pretty good.
I just wanted to say, if someone wanted to kind of really ramp up their water retention levels, and improve their athletic performance all at the same time, they can supplement on creatine. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
that
love
is a very,
creatine.
yeah, so that's a very good way to kind of biohack both, or hack both.
Mm. Okay. So I know I cut you off halfway. Was there any other hacks for our skin before we go into the next question?
Yeah, so high intensity interval training, lymphatic drainage, um, again, omega-3 fatty acids. So obviously fish oil. If you're, again, most people don't know, and that's actually something major, that skin aging is obviously, we're talking a lot about our overall health and how it affects our skin, right?
Hmm.
But what most people don't know is that our skin mainly ages from environmental aggressors. So obviously, sun exposure, pollution, free radicals in the environment, EMF, etc. So basically, most of the things that we want to do in order to keep our skin young looking, at least, but also young as far as the biological age of the skin, it would be to protect itself from the elements. So if we're talking about supplements, astaxanthin, which is a carotenoid, basically what makes salmon look orange pinkish. But we can take supplements of that, and it actually is going to help our skin kind of deal with sun damage. Red light therapy also helps us deal with sun damage later on. So if you expose yourself to red light therapy and then went outside to the sun, it helps us. Exposing ourselves to the early morning light does that as well. But also sunscreen with mineral sunblocks, long sleeves and a hat, and antioxidants, anything that's going to negate those aspects of environmental stressors is going to be the biggest culprit to stave off skin aging.
Yeah, I would add smoking to that too. I
Yeah,
mean,
again, like that's inner
that's
pollution.
yeah, inner and outer pollution. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just instant wrinkles. So, okay,
Uh-huh.
we've got quite a few hacks there. You added the HIIT training and lymphatic drainage, which I guess we could get with a massage, red
Mhm.
light therapy, drinking water, hydrating, and, just generally having a good, healthy lifestyle. I always think that your skin is a reflection of what's going on inside. So if you've got some acne, or if you've got some rashes, irritations, I always think it's your skin trying to speak to you. It's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
So you really should pay attention to it. So often, I mean, it can be related to so many things, but in my world of biohacking women over 50, it's often related to stress. And
Mhm.
the skin will tell you, okay, it's time to take a break. But so I think these are really great biohacks. I think we need to start with that, with a foundation.
Yeah.
But I always think, the outside is important too. We can't just do nothing. I always tell my clients, you've got to have some kind of a skincare routine. I don't care
Mhm.
how small it is, but taking care of the skin is for me like a leather bag, right? If you leave a leather bag in the corner and you don't touch it, it's going to get dried and wrinkly and fall apart.
Uh-huh.
So I want to ask you then, how important do you think it is to have that skincare routine, and how important is it to have good quality skincare, or is anything going to do?
It's a good question. And I actually think skincare is, we can look at skincare as two completely different things. We're just applying them on the skin. So they're somehow kind of dubbed, we just call them the same thing. But one thing that we want to consider is, again, protection. Okay. So the skin is the reflection of what happens inside. But a lot of times, what you're going to see in science as general is correlation doesn't really mean causation. Okay, so we have studies like that people became vegan or carnivore or whatever, and they can also, you know, basically adjust their biological age. They become younger biologically, but also obviously they look better, etc. But many people would argue to one diet or not the other, but really what happens under the surface is people that did not take good care of their diet, or were not as cognizant of what they're putting into their mouth and their body, now are. And that's a big difference in the health that they're experiencing, or the improvement of health they're experiencing. Same thing with um, with skincare in general, and making sure that we're putting the right thing on the skin. So the most important thing is, as you said, like, is a skincare routine, right? Like, we have to have something. If we're going to neglect what we're doing to our skin in general, that's not going to be a solution whatsoever. Now, within skincare, the first thing is we need to make sure that there is not accumulation of damage from the environment. And that we can do with, again, sunblocks, which I mentioned, antioxidants, and we can also do it with a different form of skincare, which is more professional, but that is, again, like peels, things like that, that kind of remove some of that damage, that's been accumulated. The other type of skincare, which some peels or lasers are also going to be lumped into that category, are stimulators, are things that actually call upon regeneration of the skin. So they can be formulated into the same product. They can be different products, but we really need to understand that they actually act completely differently as far as what our skin is experiencing. So if someone wants to be extremely simple in their skincare, they obviously like protection is more important. Okay, but then what are we doing in order to stimulate those cells to renew themselves? So if we already have signs of aging because we're not 20 years old or 10 years old, and we want some of these signs of aging, polished off, if you would, or if we want maybe not to progress, we really need to ask the cells to renew themselves. And we can do it in many ways. We can do it with peels, we can do it with lasers, we can do it with retinol, and we can also do it with physical things like microneedling or dermaplaning, or things that we can go to the doctor and do. But that is like the two categories that I think are the most coherent when we talk about skincare. If you wanted just one product that does everything, I just recommend like a moisturizer, and obviously your sunblock would be just another layer when you go outside. But you could just have a moisturizer with some active ingredients. We've designed like a specific product, it's called Care, to be that, as far as just the kitchen sink. We're going to have one product that does everything. But the more specific you want to get, the more you're going to have to basically go the route of serums. So a basic moisturizer would normally try and cover a lot of bases, like a multivitamin, right? But obviously, if we go to the doctor and we're like, okay, we have these problems, right? I want to treat 1, 2, 3, 4, or the tests that the doctor gave us, point to the fact that we're deficient in 1, 2, 3, 4. So aside from like a baseline multivitamin that they're going to have us take, they're also going to have us take specific molecules that we're deficient in. And that's kind of what serums do. Serums, they basically kind of take our skincare routine and personalize it. So we can choose an active ingredient that could not be in high concentration in the moisturizer just because they had to put the kitchen sink there, right? And we can choose to focus on that. So for example, again, a retinol, something to increase hydration, something to maybe combat acne, or whatever we would like that to be. We can adjust that with serums. And obviously washing the face is pretty basic.
Yeah. I would say washing the face is super important. No matter how you do it, but that's a really good rundown. So we do need to have a skincare routine. And I think we do need to get I understand the foundation. You can get a moisturizer with a bunch of ingredients in there, and then target things with serums. So
Yeah.
tell us then, what ingredients does the typical anti-aging serum of the past have, and what is different today?
That's a great question. So when we say the past, we can go like, 50 years ago. But I think that most people it would be irrelevant for now. So we're going to talk about the last 20 years. So 20 years ago, what we really saw were like collagen-based products, right? Collagen, collagen, collagen. But something that we want to understand, and that would go to, we can look at it in any level of our body. Our body does not like when we give it the end solution right away. What I mean by that is that our body doesn't deal with things that it needs to create on its own. It doesn't deal with them very well if you give the body them, off the bat. So if I want to create collagen in my skin and I apply collagen on the skin has no idea what to do with it. What I need to do is kind of ask the skin to create collagen. And that's why collagen products did not work. The skin is not designed to absorb collagen through our skin. What it is designed to sense is stress, is damage, is call for repair, and then it knows it needs to create collagen. Now, what we can do is give it molecules that are going to support that collagen production. So what we started seeing 15 years ago, 20 years ago, really until like 10 years ago, is the rise of peptides. What peptides are proteins. Collagen's a protein. If you ever bought like a jug of collagen in Whole Foods or whatever, it's going to say collagen peptides on it. Peptides is another name for like amino acid chains, which are proteins. So we give the body these proteins that the body can kind of rely on to create collagen from, or the body relies on them to basically signal that it needs collagen better. And the skincare industry really focused on this since then. The problem was, as I said, we need to communicate to the body that we want collagen to be produced. Imagine if we had like a finger that we broke and it healed, but it didn't heal in the right angle. Do you think if I'm going to have it optimal, it healed, okay, but it healed wrong, I can't bend it, or it bends really weird or whatever, or my hand, broke in the middle and now it slants a little bit. You think if I'm going to eat a lot of kale, it's going to reshape itself? No. What we need to do is re-break that bone and support the healing process as much as we can, obviously. Okay, so that is the same thing when we have a wrinkle. A wrinkle is a done deal. It can progress, unfortunately, okay? But it's done deal. We can't convince the body to fill in that wrinkle. What we can do is basically control the damage. So we damage the skin around it. The skin basically just builds a newer skin that is wrinkle-free, hopefully, to some extent. So that in the last, again, 10, 20 years, was a big focus of skincare companies, basically like medical skincare companies. And we can go over like 100 names of medical skincare companies, but anyone who has used them for the last 1 year, what they saw was a lot of stimulation for repair, a lot of peels, a lot of like stimulating agents, scrubs, retinols, whatever that is. The problem here is that what we are doing is we're asking the skin, we're basically sacrificing the future for the present. What I mean by that is, obviously, if we want to look the best, right, like tomorrow or next year, we have a wedding, we want to look the best that we can for that, for our children's wedding or whatever, we're not going to care how our skin's going to look 20 years from now. We are going to blitz towards that date, and we're going to do whatever we can do in order to look the best on that date. But what we don't realize is that we've basically sacrificed a lot of the building blocks, a lot of the reservoirs that our skin was relying on, because it didn't know that they're, in the skin's eyes, they have no idea that it needs to, whatever, it needs to look good for the wedding, right? So those reservoirs are being depleted. And then what we are seeing now with people who have been peeling their skin on a daily basis or bi-daily basis or whatever for the last 10, 20 years is that their skin is more fragile. It is harder to work on. It's thinner, and it is basically bruising easier. Okay, it's less strong.
So are you saying then that exfoliants and alpha hydroxy acids, say, and retinol is thinning the skin, and so we may look good today but not good tomorrow?
I'm saying that there is like anything in biohacking, that's actually kind of biohacking, right? So like anything in biohacking, the point where we're exceeding the recommended amount should be taken into consideration. Okay. So
okay. So yeah, it's something that's in large amounts can hurt you, but finding that Goldilocks sweet spot is protective and could, have a little damage. The hormesis that we always talk about in biohacking is that stress in a good way, but knowing when to stop. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we can even think of cortisol, right? So cortisol, the stress hormone, is obviously one of the most aging things that we can imagine, right? And we've already spoken about stress a little bit, but stress is one of the things that are going to make you age the fastest. But if cortisol is not going to be expressed in the morning, your body won't know how to what hormones to produce during the day, as an example. Okay, so the bell curve of the amount of cortisol we need our body to produce is actually the optimal amount is not that high, right? So it's actually like that in everything. So retinol is the best thing that we can do in order for us to activate basal cells, which are the skin's stem cells, and these have amazing benefits, also short term, but also long term. But if we use retinol every day, we would be depleting those basal cells, and then in 20 years we're not going to have them when our skin's going to need them, or when we're going to have that high expression of cortisol. And in cortisol, one of the things that it does, it actually calls on stem cells to be activated. We're not going to have those, and our skin is going to suffer from it. It's going to age, etc. So the
Okay,
sweet
this is an
spot's
important
always there.
point. Yeah, this is an important point because I think a lot of women who are listening now, like me, use retinol just straight
Mhm.
up. And if usually most of us know not to use it in summer, and always to wear sunscreen and things like that. But we understand that it's thickening the skin, it's making it stronger and everything. So the message that you're saying is to use it intermittently or use it wisely, and know when to stop. And if that's the message, then how do we know what is the Goldilocks zone for retinols straight up?
So retinol, there are two things. First of all, when you say summer, okay, before I get to that, maybe I'll answer the question. Like first, retinol should be used like interchangeably. If you want to use it every day because you have like a pigmentation that you need to treat or whatever, that shouldn't be happening for more than 3 months. But in general, you don't want to use retinol for more than every other day. Okay. About the summer, like why, what's happening in the summer? Obviously, the answer is stronger sun and obviously wavelengths light that will damage our skin are now stronger, right? So actually what we're doing, if we're looking from a bird's eye view on what's going on, is we are adding stress to stress, right? And now we can understand how retinol basically kind of brings the amount of or exacerbates the amount of stress that our skin is experiencing. So that's one thing. Retinol specifically also damaged the skin barrier, and that's where we get what is called retinal dermatitis. And that is, even though retinol thickens the skin, that is being thinned out by retinol if we're not doing anything to repair that. I'm not saying it's a law, but if we're not actively repairing that, that is something that we're going to be suffering from later on. So we need to take that into consideration.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure we talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, so what is the question that I had was, so the serums of the past had collagen,
Yeah.
and that's not proving to not be so supportive of collagen. We have better ways to do that. So if we're looking for our skincare product now and it has collagen in it, we can just move right on to the next thing. So is there anything else that you wanted to mention about the serums of the past, and then move on to what serums of today are having in there that we should really be looking out for?
So I would say that even the serums of today are the serums of the past in a way where what most companies try to do, and that's not a knock on any company, but if we think of the logic of a larger company or an only for-profit company, what they're trying to do is to communicate to you in a way that you already understand. They're trying basically to clickbait you into buying something. Okay, so if I know, so there's a big company right now that their new line that they came out with is a turmeric line.
Mhm.
Obviously, you, Zora, I'm sure you've been using turmeric 15 or 20 years already. But most people have been using turmeric for the last like 5 years, and they are convinced now that is something that has helped their health. So what happens is that the big skincare company basically needs to make money now. It has shareholders, it has people that they need to show results to every day. So what they're doing is they're not going to educate you as a client. They're going to make sure that they're communicating in the language that you understand right now. And that is why I'm saying that the serums of today are also the serums of the past. Okay. But another thing that we're seeing now, and we've started research in resveratrol 2015, and we thought we're kind of behind the, or that we're kind of doing something that's not very innovative and we should improve it. But what we're seeing now is companies putting resveratrol or other polyphenols into their skincare. That's great, but polyphenols are, or resveratrol specifically, they're also hormetic stressors. So we need to make sure that they're fermented or something happens there where we're easing or making the skin able to break them down.
So you're saying
So
if we find a product with resveratrol in it, it's not good
yeah,
enough. It has to be fermented
yeah.
resveratrol for it to be active on the
Mhm.
skin.
Yeah. Now, what we're starting to see now with serums, or what we're going to see in the next few years, are serums that are based on either really, really strong antioxidants that do more than, or we have three types of free radicals. We have oxygen-free radicals, we have nitrogen-free radicals, and carbon-free radicals. And most antioxidants that we know of, they only treat reactive oxygen species, which are oxygen-free radicals. So what we're starting to see are antioxidants that are addressing all three. That's what we're using, for example, or at least two of them. I'm sure you heard about C60, which is one of those. But there are other ones, like we're using an antioxidant that's called lipochromin 6, and there are ones that are becoming more and more popular.
Mm.
So that's what we're going to see, later on. Another thing
Is it a
are
peptide? Sorry, C60 is what is that?
C60 is actually a resin that started in the automobile industry, uh, interestingly enough. But what we found out is that if you mix it with oil, and I'm making obviously a heuristic here, but what we found out is that it can be something that our body can also use as an exogenous antioxidant. So basically, being able to fight free radicals in the body, even though the body didn't make it itself, and it's actually not from any living animal. And the reason that people are interested in it is because it's actually stronger than the antioxidants that we've found in animals. Okay,
Mm.
so that's like a small window into C60, but there are other antioxidants or free radical scavengers that act similarly. That's just one that's pretty popular right now.
Okay, so we find C60 now in new skincare, and there was another
Yeah,
one you mentioned. What was it?
lipochromin
What was it?
6.
Lipochromin 6. What's that?
Lipochromin 6 is again an antioxidant that is, about, so it's about 11 times stronger than the strongest vitamin C.
Wow.
Yeah, and vitamin C again really acts mainly on oxygen-free radicals. What is interesting in lipochromin is that it acts on both, or on all the three: nitrogen-free radicals, oxygen-free radicals, and carbon-free radicals.
Mm.
And what it allows is a better defense against pollution, which is obviously filled with nitrogen and carbon-free radicals.
Okay. Okay,
So
cool.
pollution's becoming stronger. Um, and last is obviously capitalizing on the craze that is going on as far as like exosomes, which are like stem cell derivatives. So all the stem cells industry obviously is becoming very, very, very talked about and popular right now. And there are some derivatives that show benefits when applied on the skin. Normally, you need quite a lot of damage in order to get them really to work in the skin. So most of those exosomes or stem cell derivative serums are going to be used in a professional setting together with like microneedling or something. Imagine like a PRP facial, like a vampire facial, but with something that comes out of the vial instead of out of you. but there are companies that are looking to produce products that you can buy off the shelf with these ingredients in them. There are many problems that still need to be solved as far as that is concerned, but it is coming as well.
Hmm. Okay. So what about ingredients that we should really stay away from in skincare, and think about an older woman, older
Yeah.
skin, that's the audience we have as well. So what should we be careful of?
Obviously, we can talk about endocrine disruptors, but this is not only that it's a touchy subject. Most skincare companies are not creating products with the levels of endocrine disruptors that are going to do anything for our body as a whole. They're extremely minute, and the way that skincare works is that they actually, most of those ingredients stay in the skin. They don't go systemically. That's why I don't think that's the main issue that I should be warning people about. Like that's the education is there. But what I would like to warn people are, especially if they're older, are like super clean products. And I know it's very surprising when I say that, but products that are like, and I've had some experience with companies that want consultation in that aspect. So products that are extremely clean, that are basically like carrot juice,
You can eat it,
drained,
you,
yeah, that
whatever you
you
put
can
on
eat
your
it. Or
face, you can eat it, kind of
so let
clean.
me ask you a question. Would you drink any orange juice that just sits on the shelf in like Walmart?
No,
No,
no.
right? Even though you can eat it,
Yeah.
you're not gonna. So the same thing with skincare. Skincare is normally sitting on a shelf anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. The average is over a year before it,
Wow.
yeah, before
Wow.
yes.
From the manufacturer, the factory,
Oh
until you
yeah,
put it
oh
in
yeah,
your
and
on your skin, and it's about a year and a half.
that's about a year. How about most companies that are making products that are made in the US, right? It's made in the US, but the active ingredients don't normally do not come from the US. They still come from China. So that's another couple of years that these active ingredients were traveling around. And so that's a long time that this, pineapple juice or whatever it is, celery extract.
Well, maybe it depends on how stable the molecule is. If it's very
Thank you very
stable and maybe
much.
safe, then
Thank you very much. And that is why we're getting into stability. There is a reason, like, um, there are many different companies out there making skincare, and they all have chemists on retainers because there is delicate chemistry for stability, for the correct pH levels, etc. What happens when products do not have it because they're trying to be as clean as possible, the chemical makeup of the ingredients change over time because of exposure to different pressures when it obviously travels by air or whatever, exposure to different temperatures, if it was under the sun, if it was very cold, expansion and contraction of water when it gets into solid, gaseous and liquid form, etc. All of these things put a stress on the molecules. And if they're not stable enough because they were not chemically designed to be stable, they are going to alter. Do you remember when people were vaping and a lot of people were dying because of vitamin E in the vapes? Vitamin E will not kill you. They were not inhaling vitamin E. Vitamin E was in that little whatever it's called,
the cartridge.
cartridge, and when it got heated up to a vapor, it changed its chemical makeup, and what you were inhaling is something different, and that was toxic. So we need to make sure that the products are, first of all, effective, but also harmless because they kept their integrity or whatever that is. And we can do it through, good bottles. We can do it through natural stabilizing molecules, but it has to be something else than something you can eat.
Okay, that does clear up. I agree. It's quite, and you could be attracted to those organic and, we understand everything on the label kind of thing, which I think is
Hmm.
is fantastic, as long as, yeah, it's stable and it's going to be fresh at some point. But personally, I always think we need a little bit of science behind this when we get to a certain age. So I love
Yeah,
those for those 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. But personally, I just don't see a whole lot of reversal of damage that's going
yeah.
on with just the all natural. I would take it and add it to, as long as it's safe and it's stable, then I would add it to my superpower, you know,
Zora,
line, whatever I'm using.
what my issue with that for the people listening to us that are over 50 and 60 is again the skin barrier. Okay, it's becoming more harder and harder to uh, keep it strong and with integrity. And when we are adding things into our skincare routine that have the wrong pH, what you're really doing is you're messing up the pH of your skin barrier. And that is, I mean, not to, so at Young Goose, we are getting more and more convinced that a big part of our product um, aims of our product is strengthening the skin barrier. I know you've heard it from, like, again, no offense to anyone, like $5 jar companies, kind of preaching skin barrier integrity, but there is so much more than that. And we can actually biohack the skin barrier and make it around 20 times stronger than a normal human's skin barrier. And what this would do for skin health and biological age of the skin as a whole is insane.
Hmm. Okay. Well, then, yeah, we got to learn about what, what you're doing with Young Goose to make that skin barrier strong. So,
Yeah.
yeah, as we age, then you're saying our skin becomes more fragile and could be more sensitive to products.
Mhm.
So, let's talk about Young Goose and why is it considered biohacking skincare?
Well, we can look at it. This coin has like three sides. So the first side is really finding the balance between medical grade skincare that is supposed to give you the results that you're looking for, and skincare that doesn't tax your hormones or your different systems of the body. So in that Venn diagram, what comes out in the middle is biohacking skincare. That's number one. Another, reference point to biohacking skincare is skincare that we can rely on, that is going to um, have us age, or target longevity, target, the fundamental processes of aging, and try and have our skin behave in the most youthful way. Um, Now, number three is biohacking skincare is really taking normal skincare that we all know, so serums, creams, whatever function we want the skin product to perform, and looking at from a biohacking perspective, how can we make it in the most effective way,
Optimized.
yeah, optimized way, looking at like how can we strip out all the negative things that can happen and kind of piggyback on the positive effects that we can have with it.
Ah. So, what I noticed in your products that I haven't seen in anything else is you have a product that's boosts NAD. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want you to talk a little bit about what is NAD and what does that mean having an NAD product?
NAD is an energy currency, okay, in the body. So you can think, if you remember when, Zora, you are a traveler. So when you go from, well, now we all have credit cards, but when we used to carry cash from country to country, we would go to an exchange, terminal, and we'd exchange our money to something that we can use. So you can think of the calories that you ingest into your body is like as one currency, and the energy that our cells need is a different currency. That exchange rate is NAD.
Mm.
Because of that, a lot of processes in the body kind of refer to NAD as far as what what energy can be invested in repair and, in maintenance, whatever that is. So it's kind of, if I took NAD out of your body, you'll be dead in 30 seconds. But you can think of it as the support molecule for any repair process in your body. And that is why it's so important, specifically in the skin. So when we're looking at the skin, when we grow older or when we just have lived for longer on this earth, what happens is that our skin gets bombarded by, again, like UV damage, right? Pollution, different stressors, inside, outside, whatever that is. And what happens is it sacrifices its DNA in order to maintain some kind of integrity. So we talked about the skin barrier a second ago. The body all the time repairs the skin barrier, but the reason is that a 60-year-old skin barrier is not going to be the same skin barrier of a 20-year-old, is because the genetic information to what it means to create a good skin barrier has been, corrupted a little bit. So when we are looking at what we want NAD to do, is to kind of protect our DNA integrity, to protect who we really are as a blueprint of a person. And as we grow older, that takes more and more NAD to do. And what happens is that the ability to interpret that DNA is, just don't have enough NAD to do that. So we're kind of going back and forth. We try to create good repair processes in the body. The body doesn't have enough NAD. We get more damage. The body doesn't have enough NAD to kind of even know what to do in order to repair it. And that is why we have to supply NAD to the skin specifically. If we try to supply it to the body, and we can do it through an IV, we can do it through oral supplements, we can even do it through suppositories. If we try and did all of that, any other system in the body is going to gobble it up: your brain, your heart, your muscles, and a little bit's going to come to your skin. And even when it gets to your skin, it's not going to get to your under eye wrinkle and not to the skin behind your knee. It's going to go systemically.
So what you're saying, yeah. So we've had podcasts talking about NAD and NRG and supplements and NMN and NR. These are precursors for NAD. And this is to give the body more energy and also to function optimally. So if the body's not taking the NAD to the skin, then maybe it's not necessary. Why doesn't it do that?
Because the body is designed to survive first. It's designed to basically hunker down and survive its older age. And the skin is something that is being sacrificed, if you want to think of it like that, as we grow older. Really a more fundamental, biological, correct way to think about it, but it's just not nice to hear. As human beings, as animals, we're designed to pass on our genes. So we're designed to be attractive to the other sex, or we're designed to communicate vitality when we're younger. Because we are cognizant creatures and we want to, have our best lives for as long as we live, it is important to us to communicate that vitality as we grow older. But biologically, it's less important as we grow older. So our skin is becoming less and less important as aging goes on. And the inner systems, so our brain, our heart, again, as we said, digestive tract, our liver, kidneys, muscles, they gain precedence because they are more important for the survivability of the organism. And that is why the older we get, the less important the skin is to our survival, right?
Yeah. So then wouldn't in boosting our NAD, whether it's through a supplement or exercise or fasting or whatever modalities, biohacks we can do, wouldn't it eventually get to the skin in the sense that, oh, I'm exercising more, I have more energy, I'm glowing because I'm getting more blood circulation from the movement and sleeping better. And so it may not get directly to the skin, but maybe taking an NAD precursor, some kind of a supplement, or would eventually have some benefits for the skin. No?
Yeah, it will. It will, and obviously it will, as you just have pointed out, from a few different directions, right? Again, we're going to work out, we're going to have more blood circulation, we're also going to have more nutrients getting to our skin, right? Some of them are going to be NAD precursors, some of them are going to be platelets, some of them are going to be antioxidants, whatever that is. So definitely our skin's going to enjoy that movement, and it's going to enjoy any process that we're doing internally. But as we know, there is a limit to the benefits that any process, kind of supplies to our skin specifically. If we're like binary saying, oh, exercise is good for our skin, let's, run for, I don't know, 11 hours, see how good our skin looks. And actually, it's an example that, there's a lot of hype right now as far as like cold exposure, right? And cold exposure is definitely very healthy for us as human beings, for increases our survivability, etc. But if you look at people who have done a lot of cold exposure in nature, and you can think of some famous ones at that, their skin doesn't look so good.
Oh, because they're doing it outside in the sun without sun protection, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Nothing to do with
exactly.
the cold.
Exactly. Nothing to do with the cold. But what I'm saying is that you have a relationship you are trying to break. If I increase NAD systemically to a certain extent, I actually shut off sirtuins, and we can talk about that, where I shut off those enzymes and the genes that encode them, that are responsible for DNA cohesion, for that matter, for DNA readability. If I exercise too much, nothing to do with the actual exercise, I'm still supplying a lot of blood, but I'm depleting water, for example, which is important for my skin. So when we supply NAD directly to the skin, we're just trying to break the bond between elevating NAD in the body and paying a price for it. The same way, if I go to, in the comfort of my own home, go into an ice bath, I'm breaking the bond between cold exposure and exposure to other elements that are not as positive.
So what you're showing, you've decided to put NAD or the NAD precursors into the skincare line for this benefit, but are we sure they're penetrating the skin cells? And, do we know, do you have clinical trials? How are we figuring this out?
Well, that's the best question someone can ask our company, because that's where we really shine. And what I say by that is, we're not the only company that offers NAD, just straight up NAD or NAD precursors for the skin, for that matter. And what your question is the best question someone can ask. First, NAD precursors are really not stable. So there are a few patents around NAD precursors, and the patents are not patents on specific molecules, because these molecules you can actually not patent, because your body produces them on its own. But the patents are on ways to stabilize these molecules, all right? NR-Noble, which is a patent that we use, that's a patent as well. So the first thing is, we need to make sure that, as we said before, until the bottle gets, or the cream gets applied on your face, it actually still has the molecules that we want it to have. That's number one. We do it through creating liposomal solutions. So they're wrapped in like a bubble of fat that is not being broken until your skin basically breaks it down, like opening a gift wrap. The second thing is NAD as a molecule, as a whole molecule, as we talked about collagen before. Both of these molecules, first of all, are too big to get absorbed through your pores. Second, and that's kind of the chicken and the egg, but the second is, your body only knows what to do with them when they're inside the cell. So they're actually too big for your body to move around. For the most part, they're not very functional. So your body actually moves around different things, and that's where we get the precursors, right? So we use precursors, but even they are naturally too big to get absorbed through your pore. So what we do is we nanosize them. So we nanosize them and lipolyze them. That's how they can get absorbed and be stable, etc. But that someone can still come and say, and we did, publish a study on the effects of that on the skin. But someone can still come around and say, well, that's a study that you paid for. I don't even know if it's viable. So it's important to understand that NAD precursors, and we actually use a few other ones in different products that we have, but they're all types of B vitamins or B3 vitamins for that matter. And B3 vitamins are actually extremely popular in skincare at the moment, whether it's niacinamide or anything like that. So there is abundant amount of data on B3 vitamins getting absorbed into the skin as long as they're small enough and being bioactive, being your skin reacting to them in a positive way. So yeah, you have our studies, but you also have a lot of science to rely on as far as other types of molecules in that family and how they behave. And our precursors behave the same way.
Okay, so people can go and find, well, you can just PubMed, these molecules and see how they get into the skin. But on your website, you can also find the clinical trials that you've done anyways to see if your product, how that reacts to the skin.
We actually don't have them on our website. Maybe should have them on the website. That's a good
yes,
idea.
please.
But we're going to have it right away. I don't know. No one ever brought it into our attention that we should have them on the website. But yeah, that's not a problem at all. We are going to have them very soon after this conversation. Probably by the time this podcast is out officially, we're going to have them on the website for sure. It's very
I'd like to see those because, well, biohackers always are reading studies and research and stuff, and so it's really interesting to see what kind of clinical trials you've done, because especially if we're different skin types. So we know the same skincare is like a diet, this doesn't work with everyone. So depending on if you're a man or a woman, if you're Caucasian, Black, Asian, dry skin, combo, sensitive, oily, like it's really hard. That's why skincare companies usually come out with these different formulas, but you don't have that. So I'm wondering if, who is in these clinical trials, who maybe it doesn't work for, or you haven't yet tested on, and will you be coming out with different, formulas targeted for those different skin types?
So I can tell you that's a wonderful observation, because normally what a normal skincare company does is they're looking for the lowest common denominator. And what I mean by that is, it's not a skincare, but let's take Botox, for example. Botox is designed to basically like to eliminate lines from our forehead, right? But the way that it does is not by, making them disappear biologically. What it does is it basically has our muscles not contract around them and not show them to the person who's looking. So the wrinkles are still there, or the biological makeup of what those wrinkles are still there. We just cannot see them. Or think of fillers. Fillers do not make the skin tighter, but they actually create a filling under the skin, which stretches the skin out. But the skin, we didn't create more collagen or elastin or something like that. In skincare companies, to the most part, they do the same thing. So if they want, pigmentation product, what it will do, it will bleach the sunspot. It wouldn't break down the melanin that created the pigment that created the sunspot, the uneven pigment that created the sunspot to begin with, right?
It's like
what we are trying to do exactly, or a plaster paint, right? What we are trying to do is we're trying to communicate to the body that it should behave in the most youthful state that it can, and then yes, provide some kind of stimulation, but in the form of our bioretinol that also is like, doesn't leave you red and stuff. But we're trying to communicate to the body in the most upstream way, and that is correct on a cellular level. So your cells are not Caucasian, Latin, African American, whatever that is. They're human cells, and the chemical, biochemical reactions that are happening there are identical to all of us. So to your point and kind of what you were talking about, what we're trying to do is create a profound change in the biochemical functions of our cells, and not only in the appearance signs, which are obviously very difficult to adjust to every skin color, texture, whatever that is. And that is why we can create one product that would cover 99% of the public.
Yeah. Okay. So that goes for, I can understand that for those molecules and things, but when it comes to say hydration, there's some
Mhm.
people that have more oily skin and some people that have more dry skin and may need a little bit more. So would you say that for those people who are maybe not finding enough hydration, they should add on another layer or?
Well, they could, but Zora, you are getting the award for best questions in a podcast. So because, and you'll see why right now. First of all, you can see from the questions you asked until now. But um, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of like hairdressers that tell you, "Oh, your hair is too oily, wash it less"? You ever heard it
Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. So you produce, yes. So you're not drying out your skin. They want, I mean, your hair, you want it to produce its own oils naturally.
Yes, I think you see where I'm going with that. So
Yeah.
basically, what happens is that whether your skin is, for the most part, whether your skin is extremely oily or extremely dry, the underlying issue is most of the time the same, which would be our, sebaceous glands not functioning correctly. So if we can basically produce a better function or stimulate better function or correct the underlying mechanism that is going on there that is not holding on to moisture as well, we can actually balance this. So we have a product called ProCare that most people know it as a senolytic serum. What it does, it can eliminate, cells that are not functioning very well, and it promotes, youthful, whatever. But really, what happens there is that it reboots 14 different genes that are involved or that are getting kind of messed up as we grow older. And one of them is HAS, which is the hyaluronic acid gene or the
Hmm.
hyaluronic acid production gene, and we can actually upregulate it on average by 72%. And by doing that, your skin or my skin or anyone's skin can hold on to more moisture. And that way we can actually balance oil production. Another thing that balances oil production in that product is something very similar to metformin, which is a lilac cell culture extract, which stresses the mitochondria in a way which increases mitochondrial function, which has also been shown, and that is one of the researches that we're going to put on our website. And it's
Hmm.
also been shown to balance oil levels in the skin.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's an interesting answer. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is if I'm have dry skin and I'm using your product, it should be regulating itself. You're saying just be patient. Don't slap on. If you have dry skin in general, I guess you're saying don't put on more moisturizer because you're exacerbating the problem. Let your skin take a break and produce its own oils.
Well, what I'm saying is that I'm guaranteeing that you're not fixing the problem at all. And for the most part, the hypodermis and dermis are actually not getting more hydrated, which are the innermost layers of the skin. So what you're doing is you're making you feel more hydrated, which is great. Again, we're all for the psychological aspect of skincare. That's great, but you're not doing anything actually for the skin. So the two things I'm going to tell you is either um, use one product that corrects the issue or use products that allow your skin to hold on to moisture for longer so the skin can kind of use that moisture in a better way on a slower basis. So normally you splice research in hydration for like 4 hours and 24 hours, and you see how long moisture kind of stays in the skin. So we have a product that we do not really talk about it, but it actually allows. So it's called a adaptogenic HA firming boost, and we're talking about HA, blah blah. But really, what happens there is it restructures the water in your skin, and it allows more water to be to be maintained at the fourth stage of water. So the same amount of moisture can be utilized by the skin in a much better way and more profound way.
Okay. I know I'm being really hard on you.
No, you're
I
being really, really, really good. But yeah,
and
but
I just want to look
oh,
out for other people. You can see I've been using the vitamin C, the Pro Care, and
yeah,
the these bottles are all gone. I just finished and they're all, you don't even see the writing anymore. So, and I had great results. I have to say, I think I shared it with you that after 5 days, I was
yeah.
so impressed. What the biggest thing I noticed was like redness or rosacea. And then in 5 days, it was just gone. So
Mhm.
I was really, really happy, but it worked for me. That was just me, my story. And I was really excited to try Young Goose just because all my other biohacking besties are raving about it and they loved it. And so, but when I think about myself and these girls, we're white women. And so, I have to look out for the blacks and the Asians and and everyone else. I mean, that's why I want to ask. I don't know. I don't have the results, but I get why now it's called biohacking skincare, because
Yeah.
you're looking at that from a cellular level. And I would love to get more feedback. If any of you guys listening here and you have different skin types, please send me a message, because I'd love to get that confirmation, because if I recommend something, I really want to be sure it's working for as many people as I possibly can reach. So I want to open up the conversation. We've been talking an hour and a half now, but I want to open the conversation. People have been so patient and asking their questions. But before we do, I want to talk about price,
Mhm.
because it's not cheap. And
No.
I want you to explain a little bit, how much are we looking to spend each month on this? And you have a big range, so I'm not sure how you're going to
Yeah.
answer that.
No, I can answer it. I can answer it now as I'll put my CEO hat on, and I'll tell you some information. So, our products are designed to last between 3 to 4 months. That's number one. So we, for example, Zora, you got the products around 2.5 months ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I didn't start right away, but I also used it twice a day.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
So
I went through it a little bit faster then.
yeah,
I think I was, and I didn't realize in the beginning that you recommended to start off slowly. I didn't see
yes.
that.
No, that's great. But normally they are designed to last like 3 to 4 months. If you use them, twice a day or whatever, 2 months. All right.
Mhm.
An average order that someone orders from us is around $270. So you can imagine multiplied by four, that's around $1,000 that you are dedicating it from your yearly budget to taking care of your skin. And obviously that could grow to double that if you wanted a more customized routine from us. So bear that in mind. So the products are not cheap. What I would tell you is the margins that we work with are completely different than the industry. So normally the industry works on an 80% margin. It means that um, what you would want to do is basically divide by five the cost of a product that you have, and that is going to be the cost that the company basically absorbs in order to take care of it, or to produce it. We work on about less than a quarter of that, and the reason is because two reasons. Because we use the best form of the active ingredients. Remember, we talked about the fact that maybe the product was a year on the shelf, but how long did the active ingredients stay on the shelf? And the same thing goes. So that's why McDonald's can sell a burger for $1, and your favorite restaurant sells a burger for $15, right? Why is the discrepancy? Because the not only the chef gets paid more, but the actual ingredients cost more, right? So that's number one. Number two, we invest 90% of our income in research and development. So not only that you're getting like the best quality product to your hand, but you're kind of funding you're making sure that you're going to get the best science can offer for your next order, basically. So that's kind of a double reason why our products are not cheap, but they really are the best that money can buy, and they have the highest amount of active ingredients that money can buy, and they are not the most expensive money can buy. You know, they're pretty. If you go to like a Nordstrom or like a department store, they're pretty average in the prices that that product costs there.
Yeah. So you would compare it to
Yeah,
a La Mer or La Prairie kind of.
those are $500 products. That's not even us. But what
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying,
So you're less than that.
yes. But what I'm saying is that, again, like look at any product and divide it by 5. That's really how much that product cost the company that you're talking about. And that's after they invested in marketing and everything like
Yeah.
that.
So
So we
Amitay,
don't, yeah.
yeah, you're not going to make any money now.
I mean, we
You're
are
going to go in the poorhouse making all these products for us.
well, the way that we've designed our company is that we're not in the business of becoming rich from selling products. Maybe when we sell the company in 20 years, we're going to make more money. But the idea is to have the best, not to settle for products, not to settle for the best products we can make. That's our passion project. That's really what we are extremely passionate about. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's what we care about.
Good. Okay. Well, let's see where that takes us. Let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, if anybody's thinking about a product, if they wanted to test Young Goose and can
Mhm.
only afford one item, where should they start?
They should start with Care. Care NAD boosting moisturizer. The reason is because it's not the product that's going to give you the fastest results from all our products, but that's the product that you should use if you have the most integrity. But because that's going to keep you youngest the longest.
Mm.
So you're
Cool.
going to age slower because of that product.
Oh, great. Good. That's the foundation.
Yeah.
And I noticed on your website, you have a money back guarantee. So
Yeah.
that's great. How long how does that work?
I mean, it's 30 days. If someone didn't agree with the products, we had a person that was actually allergic to vitamin C and they didn't know it until they used our products, for example, or someone just doesn't like the products. It's not what they were expecting or anything like that. They can write to us and we supply them with a return label, and it's pretty simple. To be honest with you, even if someone didn't like the products after 30 days, we're not picky. You know, we're going to take our products back. Our idea again is not to is we say in Hebrew that a good name is better than a good oil. You know, when in
Nice.
biblical time, oil was worth a lot of money. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really great. Okay. So there's nothing to lose, guys. If you wanted to try that, you go to younggoose.com and we have a discount code Zora, ZORA, for 20% off for your first time purchase. And, you know, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm really happy. I was really excited those first 5 days. I couldn't really believe it. And it's been a long time since I had a wow product, right? I try so much since skincare. And this one very quickly gave me that wow. It's probably been 10 years since I've had that. I mean, I need a lot of great products, are really good. I'm really happy with them. A lot of bad products too, but this one gave me a wow pretty fast. So I wanted to open up the mic. Let's start with Magdalena. She always has some great questions.
Hello, everybody. I would like to say that I was I was applying your products for, let me say, 10 months or something. And products I know are from Care line and Pro Care line, only these 2 lines. Because at that time, I think last year, you haven't been launching yet the other products. And I noticed now you are launching just all the time, every month, something new. So I'm sorry, I haven't tried the others because everything, it seems very, very interesting. And the ingredients are just, you know, something must try. I would say like that. I didn't see any wow effect. I am from the cosmetic business. Let me say, I was in cosmetic business for all of my life. Since I was 24, I was working for Christian Dior for 10 years. My boyfriend has launched one herb, let me say, cream made from herbs. So I know a little bit how these things are going from the professional side, from the private side. So I know quite a lot about skincare, and I was maybe, expecting a magic will happen. Okay, my skin is a good condition. I'm taking care of it constantly. I will be 57 soon. So I think that maybe there's even not possible to see a wow effect if your skin is in a good condition. I would like to say that maybe from my side of view, I would recommend ProCare Vitamin C because I think it's really, really good. I saw the difference. My skin just eaten it, immediately. I saw the difference, but with care, it was just a nice, soft skin, velvet on touch, but I didn't see any difference. So I would say like that, people who are younger, maybe in their 30s or beginning of 40s, they could see some differences. But we, after 50, women in menopause, I'm in a big doubt, that we can see any difference with any skincare, because it's impossible to see when you are in menopause. Your hormones are in a decline. You were explaining a little bit about these things before, but I would say that only a woman who hit the menopause and is in a decline with hormones can see the difference in her skin, losing elastin and collagen. Every year you can see the difference. So no cream can be a magic cream to help, even with this, from the scientific point of view, with certain ingredients. You should, if you want to keep on going with your youthful appearance, you have to combine with aesthetic procedures. There's no way you can hit a good effect that you look good, because your volume is, there's no volume, there's no elastin. So you should add, fillers. You should add Botox, because Botox in cream doesn't do a miracle, but Botox in injection, yes, because it just hits the muscle, and muscle, like you said before, it's not forever. Muscle is just, let me say, dead for another 4 months or something, but then you have to repeat the procedure. So if you want to keep on going the best way you can, you have to combine good skincare regime with some aesthetic procedures. And I would say if you start on time, when you are around 40, you can really manage it very well. But only skincare, there's no magic skincare, I can assure you, because I have tried really all, also La Prairie, La Mer, the others, let me say Dior Prestige line, which was the most expensive, and so on. Nothing helps. So that's from my point of view. What I would like here to point out is a problem for people living in Europe. So how to order your cream? That's a problem, because the skincare line is expensive. Then the shipping is expensive. And at the end, the most expensive is customs. So I don't see an opportunity. Why would I decide, to order your cream, to pay that much? Because it's not only that I pay a lot for the cream from the price list, I have additional costs. So you should find a solution to have one company in Europe or a warehouse or whatever that, like, for example, Ordinary, they have something, or Life Extension supplements for Europe, or whoever, because otherwise this is just impossible to afford. You mentioned before, I think that you said $220 per month or 3 months or something should be like a cost. Or you said 270, I don't remember well. I was calculating a bit because I would like to have everything, you know. I would like to try everything because I know just the care and pro care. But then if I calculate all together, I think it's about $1,600. That's now equal to euro. And that's just incredible, you know, just to invest for skincare, because we biohackers, we are investing a lot into devices, into gadgets, into supplements. And then on the other side, if you are an older, or let me say women after 50, we have to invest also into aesthetic procedures. And this is the most expensive part. So altogether, it's just no go, you know. So we have to find a solution here.
Okay, first
from my side.
Magdalena, first of all, that you've raised some beautiful points, and I want to thank you personally. You know, you give us sometimes shout outs on Instagram, stuff like that. So first of all, thank you very much. Now, I love the points that you raised, because someone in their 50s, 60s definitely should, as we said in the beginning, part of what needs to happen is the stimulation for repair, or, you know, if we talk about like, that's like as the cosmetic procedures you mentioned, but you also mentioned surgery and etc. And I think you could agree with me that someone can choose a surgeon that costs, you know, 10 times more than another surgeon. And the reason is that we know that the same name of a procedure, for example, someone can know the intricacies of how to make it so well that it looks much better than the other. But
because
at the end
we
of
are paying the brand, you know, also celebrity.
Yes, no.
I know this.
Yeah, for sure,
creams,
for sure,
you know.
for sure.
I know that La Prairie or Dior is no, I would say now for me, because I have tested other brands, is not better from Ordinary. I love Ordinary, and Ordinary is just like, you know, few euros. And it's really cheap. It's incredibly cheap for the quality it offers. I don't want to now make a publicity here for any brand, but, you know, everybody has its own budget and we have to live with it. And of course, everybody tries to find the best solution for herself or himself. And I don't like when we are paying the brands or celebrity people, like, I don't know, plastic surgeon. I will now tell you, I bought Karam's cream as well because I wanted to test. And if I may say, I was disappointed. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody else, because for myself, it's not enough, but maybe it's okay for somebody who has 30 years old skin. Yeah. For a woman, 57, no way, because it's not enough. It can't be for everybody, you know, 3 or 4 years, no way. So, but we are paying here the name, I would say. And here, this is something we have to define or figure it out, you know. This is something I think we are all here to discuss about it, because we customers, we are not without the knowledge. Internet is there, all social platforms. We see what's going on, what the market is offering, and so on. And here I think that we should find a solution, maybe for bigger percentage of users, let me say.
Yeah. First of all, so you were talking about care and pro care. So first of all, care, as we said in the beginning, it is like basically like fuel for repair processes. But it's not going to do anything if repair processes are not going to be demanded. So for example, Zora mentioned that she had a wow factor in the first 5 days of using it. And the reason is because there was a lack there that it filled. So when you get like basically fuel for a repair process that cannot function correctly until that point, you get instant results. Some people do not have that. They were lucky, or whatever you want to call that their skin does not have a dire need for repair at the moment. Maybe you've invested a lot.
That's why I mentioned maybe my skin doesn't need it, because I take care of it all the time.
Yeah, but that is not, that actually is again like the chicken and the egg. the fact that you take care of your chicken all the time and you create demand for repair all the time draws on reservoirs that later on we're going to have less and less of them as we grow older. Obviously, one of the most important that you do is to take care of your body. And that is the most important in order to keep those reservoirs.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
topped
this is
up.
like the basis, you know, we are not
Yeah.
even talking about, because we all here
Yes.
are biohackers and we know that that's important, you know, we are not mentioning at all. But do you know, have you ever heard about Dr. Des Fernandez from South Africa, from Cape Town? I was at the speech.
Magdalena frozen.
It's very interesting because I think roller, is it okay now?
Yes.
Des Fernandez invented derma roller, I think in 70s. And he explained that, like you said before, the skin has to be damaged a little bit, that it start to renovate. And he was showing the cases of his patients that the best vitamin C treatments or vitamin A retinol treatments are after microneedling. And the results were amazing. I mean, these wrinkles were just disappeared. It's incredible, because when you are older, like you said before, wrinkle is there and will stay there. And if you don't fix it with Botox or fill it with filler, it will stay there. But with microneedling and adding vitamin C and vitamin A treatments, that was incredible. These wrinkles were gone. Women look like 20 years younger. It was incredible to see this.
Yes. So just to kind of answer, you know, what you're saying, because I want to give more people the chance to say to ask what they want, but I will try and answer like kind of everything at once. So first of all, you're right. All of those things that you mentioned are basically stimulation. As we grow older, our skin reacts less to stimulation. When it does react to stimulation, it doesn't do it as well. And that is because it not only the depletion of reservoirs, but that the fact that we have stimulated renewal before, and the fact that we were obviously in the sun, which we should mitigate, etc., that corrupted the information in which the skin kind of relies on in order to rebuild itself. That is why we've designed care kind of to be like the foundation. It's not supposed to give you crazy results unless it fills some gap, but it's supposed to make sure that you have the full fuel tank when you need it, either surgery, microneedling, whatever that is. But we can't just rely on stimulators for repair. That's number one. As far as like Europe and stuff like that, we're working on it. Fortunately or unfortunately, the markets that are closer to America, Mexico, Canada, are a little bit higher up the list because they're more pressing for us at the moment as far as orders and stuff like that. But I assure you that within a year, we're aiming at actually after Christmas, we're going to have some solution for Europe. And that is what we're aiming for. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate that question. But that's basically it. And I just want to let you know that what we are doing as a company is not trying to replace any cosmetic procedure. What we are saying is that cosmetic procedure, if that's the homework for your skin, what we are doing is the Adderall for that homework. You know, what we're trying to do is to have your body behave like the youngest form of, or your skin, the youngest form of skin that it can, in order to repair itself in the best way possible. And about the other products, that's what we're trying to do with retinol or with our hyperbaric mask or whatever product we're going to come out with.
I think it would be great also if you launch the product with astaxanthin. I saw there are some creams on the market. I haven't tried any of them yet. But because you are offering everything, I think this is missing.
Yeah, we use lipochromin. Lipochromin is a better antioxidant than astaxanthin, and our biobarrier, which is our newest product, that's what it has. And the SPF that we're going to come out with is also going to have a version.
I'm going to interrupt a little bit because we have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Magdalena.
I would just say one thing. Maybe it would be good if you if you show us the research is on women or men, or I mean people in general, till 40, and then or I don't know, 50 plus, because I think the results will be completely different. And we have to see this, because, you know, people then just read some magic words and then they expect and they don't see this difference, and then they are like disappointed. I think this would be maybe also good if this comparison can be somewhere with it, you know, that we can see the difference. What can we expect for our age? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a sound. I think their expectations are very high, especially when we get to an expensive product. But I think people need to realize, yeah, we're not, you know, creating miracles here, but supporting, you know, good, healthy skin. So we'll have a question. Actually, Fanny is raising her hand, and then we'll get to Jessica's question. So yeah, you can unmute, Fanny.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you so much. I've loved this. It's been a great thing to hear, just the background of the company, the products, and then your experience and everyone else's experience. So thank you. So I'm coming from the background of I've been using the products and probably almost the entire line, along with my mom, who is 54 years old. I think she's 54. And I've experienced incredible results, not only using the Care, Pro Care, but also the retinol, the hyperbaric chamber mask, the vitamin C spray. And then my mom, she's been using not only the Care, the Pro Care, but also the retinol, hyperbaric mask, the adaptogen neck cream. She raves about it. She's seen huge improvements, and you know, my mom, like you say, it's about living a holistic lifestyle that is going to help get you these better results. And she is also, I would say, an avid biohacker too, and cares about eating healthy and cares about, you know, taking care of her skin, her body, and wants that appearance to show on the external level. And so I think hearing it from her point of view, and you know, I will say my mom did not have the best, like, you know, as far as sun damage go, putting on sunscreen and all this stuff, you know, she wasn't the best when it came to it. But because she cared about eating healthy and, you know, exercising and also using good skincare products, like, she has seen a dramatic change in her skin. Like, as someone who started with menopause at the age of like 50, 52, something like that, experiencing hot flashes, you know, etc. She was telling me about all this. Like, I'm just saying what she experienced, and she couldn't be here even though she wanted to.
What kind of skin type is she, or ethnicity?
She has a dry skin, dry to normal skin, and she's from Dominican Republic, both descendant from, let's say, my grandma, she's from Spain. My grandfather, he is from like Africa for sure. So it's a mix of both.
So she has a bit darker skin as well.
A little bit darker skin, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But she, at an older age, was experiencing acne, dry patches on her skin, you know, some sensitivities. So when she started using the product, she started noticing that the plumpness started coming back. And, you know, she is not the most like regimen when it comes to like putting on the skin. Like, I'm very regimen when it comes to putting on the skincare and stuff. But even then, at least using it 3 to 4 times a week, you know, Monday and evening, of course, she's been seeing a huge improvement in her skincare. And that's with using the serums more than anything, because the serums are what are going to allow to treat the skin over time, from what I've been learning and reading on Young Goose. So, again, this is just coming from my experience, but mostly from her, because she's older, and I know this is a little bit more catered to older crowd. and she has menopause as well, and she travels endlessly, like, and the woman has really, really nice skin. Like, before it was looking dry and dull, and I was like, Mom, you need to get on your skincare game because it's only going to like get worse with time. So I kind of put a little pressure, and I'm telling you, it's been a huge difference, really.
I just want to say that the skin cream for now is only available for like our Prime members. So if anyone doesn't see it on their main website, they can become a Prime member and see it there.
Is that there? Because there's a question here asking, did you say something about a neck cream? Because that's not on the website.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
It is. So yes, people can become a Prime member, and then it unlocks, and you can find some products that are not available on our main website.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. We have a question. A couple more questions here. Sally Ann. Let's get to Sally Ann before we get to Jessica. She has a professional perspective. Do you want to unmute?
Oh, I think I have, yes. Hi. So I haven't spoken for a while, so my voice is a little croaky there. Thanks for the great talk and everybody's experience on there. I've enjoyed everybody's input. From a profession, I've been in the industry for 40 years and been what I would say is a biohacker before I even knew what it was, because I think it's optimization. To me, biohacking is optimization. So I've been in there studying the skin, trauma on the skin, everything on there, and worked with all skin types, all nationalities, all around the world. So I have tried every skincare product out there, and I can fully understand when Magdalena goes, oh, there's nothing out there. You know, they offer promises on boxes and nothing, well, I won't say nothing happens, but you know, it's not the great achievement that happens there. But I received the skincare. I came across Amitay last year, and I received my skincare, which was the most welcome package because I had COVID and I just didn't get the regular COVID. So yeah, my skin really needed some support and help. But I do everything. I have huge rituals and do everything on my skin. That said, I take a very holistic approach to my skincare. So a different approach, because my understanding of the skin, it heals itself. With regards to my skin, yes, I saw dramatic results straight away, but I was in a hyperbaric chamber as well. And I was like, wow, this is completely different. And one of the things as a professional working with skincare, it's not often that the people behind the skincare are as open and in integrity as Amitay and Anastasia are. And I've had great relationships and talks with them. I've asked lots of questions, pushing the boundaries on things, because I don't take everything at face value. So I've been using it now. I've got to count months. So yeah, we're in the 8th month. So I've been using it 8 months and I'm still really strong. You can hear I haven't even got my voice back properly from COVID. I've got dystonia. So my health is, I'm needing the extra skincare. But to answer the question on if you don't see the results so much, it's what people don't know about skin is the aging doesn't happen overnight. It isn't one day you wake up and the aging happens. That aging process happens over 10, 20, 30 years. So the sunburn that you got as a child doesn't show up in your teens. It shows up in your 30s and 40s. So to be using skincare, and I've used the term Band-Aid. I describe skincare as a Band-Aid. And this is one of the first skincares that I'm actually working with that I'm seeing is signaling the cells. It's working with it. It's making changes, long-term changes in there. And if you're not seeing such dramatic results, that's because yes, your skincare is well up to date. And if you're younger, but it's really important to start your skincare early. Yes, younger skin does not need loads of fancy serums, but you know, a good cleanser, a good, you know, moisturizer, because moisture, hydration is one of the key things for skin. And I naturally have had dehydrated skin. I'm going to list all my medical. I had surgical menopause and I have meningitis. So I've had a really crazy ride. But for me, dehydrated skin is just a side effect of all of that for me. And for the first time, because I know when I took the range, I kept saying to Amitay, I make this special oil. And I'm like, I can't use any products without this oil. I've got to use this oil. And now I am proud to say that I forget my oil, don't need my oil, and I don't wake up with that dry, dehydrated skin, and nothing has worked. I'm a massive addict. In fact, I'm going to say I'm addicted to the oxygen mask. That really makes a difference. But the way of using it is when you've applied all your skincare and put it on finally, just like a thin layer. It doesn't need to be a thick, goopy layer. But that for me has been a real game changer. And skincare often is how you use it. It isn't just the skincare, it's a part of the process. It's the techniques that you use to stimulate your skin, the oxygen, and the intention as well behind. I mean, we don't realize the fact that intention has a massive thing behind the skincare, but from a professional, it's my skincare of choice. And as I say, I've worked with a lot of skincare companies, and I've worked with exosomes, I've worked with lots of different things. So I also would like to say price point, it's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive, but it does what it says on the tin. So, you know, a lot of mistakes are made in skincare where people buy hope in the bottle. I mean, Amitay does loads of podcasts that you can listen to get behind the scenes and understand more about the product and what it's doing. But for me, I've seen dramatic results from my skin. I'm too close to 60 for my own comfort. I live in Arizona. I'm in zero humidity. I'm at 4,500 feet. As I said, clinical menopause. So I've got so much going against me. So it's really holding my skin together. But the biggest thing for me is not just the fact that I'm seeing the results, is the hydration. And if your skin is not hydrated and in good shape, it doesn't matter what procedure you have. It doesn't matter what you do. If your skin's not hydrated, that procedure is not going to have full effect. So you have to have a healthy skin, even if you choose to take procedures. And I trained with, I know Des and Frank, I've trained with them, and I've done a lot of work with him on that. But I would say, if you don't see huge results, it is happening underneath. It's a bit like an iceberg. Aging doesn't happen overnight. It's what you build up. But it is, as we all know here, it isn't just skincare. It's a combination of how you live your life and everything you do. You can't have one without the other. They all go together. But for me, it's complementary. As a woman who does care how she looks and cares for my clients, I'm really happy with it. Amitay, thank you so much. And I think the little story was, I was literally stepping out of the skincare industry because I'd become so disillusioned with it. It's just full of people that I couldn't bear to be in the room with because they just talk. Yeah. And I'm not saying whatever, but then when I met Amitay, I had a healthy conversation and I got revitalized, because my other side of work is I do trauma work and coaching and positive psychology, which works with the skin as well. And I was quite happy to say, okay, I'm just going to stay in this because there's so much trauma out there, we need it. But I'm happy to say I'm reigniting my love for skin, my industry, my passion. So thank you for the range. I'm appreciating it big time. So sorry.
Oh, wait, you're unmute yourself, Amitay.
Thank you very much, Bliss. It was beautiful, and I agree with you. You know, it's you can't do just one thing and not the other. And what I do want to say is that wherever you draw your inspiration from, try to have it, you know, affecting the other areas. So again, I talked about like where my ego is parked, right? For me, it's important to perform well in sports, etc. But it makes me eat healthy. It makes me take care of myself. It makes me take care of my skin, because aging skin affects the rest of the body as well, which is something we didn't even speak about, but it actually affects how we age as a whole. But yeah, I agree with you. You got to start somewhere, and wherever you start, make sure it kind of affects other areas as well.
Such an interesting perspective. Thank you so much. One last question before we go from Jessica. She actually has two questions. And she says, speaking of peptides for the skin, would melanotan be a good way to help protect the skin along with everything else? And is Young Goose planning to come out with a sun protection sunscreen besides BioC spray?
So melanotan, or melanotan 2, is a peptide, an injectable peptide that increases the expression of basically of melanin, as well as increases some other hormones that are affecting the way that we can gain muscle, etc. And that's why it's called like the Hollywood peptide, because that's where people want to be tan and have muscles, right? So melanin, so pigment is one of the things that protect our skin from DNA damage, and to that effect, it would be something that will keep your skin in a healthier shape, and also again we can gain some muscle mass. So that would be something that obviously consulting with a doctor could be applied, but bear in mind that it is going to make you darker skin. So if that's an effect that you are trying to avoid, then you shouldn't be aiming at melanotan, which is something that is now quite actually difficult to get anyway in the United States. I don't know about other places.
I'm in northern Alberta, Canada, so we don't get a lot of sun here for a very long time. My summer lasts for about 2 solid months, and then our days shorten to about 6 hours of sunlight through the winter. So, but I do have one other question. I didn't type in. I love all of the products, and I'm not going to go on about it, especially the hyperbaric mask, but I got the body lotion, which I absolutely loved, but because I'm such a dry person, I found that all of the products that I've used have lasted as long as you've said, like 4 months plus, but the body lotion lasts me like barely a month.
Yeah. Yes. So first of all, just to answer your question, we're just about ready to launch our sunblock, and it's way more than a sunblock. We talked about, to my eyes, what is now just as important if you don't live in northern Alberta, Canada, which would be environmental stressors like pollution and EMF and free radicals. And so our sunblock actually would allow some mitigation of all of those with different molecules that we've incorporated there. And that is why we believe it's biohacking and amazing. And as far as the HRV body treatment, which is the product that you mentioned, it runs. I don't apply it on all my body. I just apply it where I really need it. Like again, I do a lot of contact sports, so I get a lot of scrapes, bruises, places that have rougher skin because of that. And I know that this is something that a lot of people do. They just kind of prioritize because, I mean, we used to make it in a larger container for professionals, but because it's so thick, it's hard to push out of. So that's the 4-ounce bottle is what we got right now, as far as like a bottle that we can use.
Okay, well, I'm putting in a request for a thinner lotion that goes further, because I'm like 1 pump on my leg, 1 pump on my other leg.
Yeah, we're working on it. We'll have something in the next year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to everyone who's been here for 2 hours. I'm so impressed. They stuck around. We spoke about so many things. Amitay, you are amazing. I really appreciate your time. Before I let you go, I want everyone to know that they can find you on Instagram, young _goose _skincare, and listen to the Biohacking Beauty podcast. You have so many great guests and lots of great topics. I'll have the links to the show notes. And if anybody wants to try Young Goose, younggoose.com, and use the discount code Zora for 20% off. Is there any last words you'd like to share for a woman over 50?
Self-love is the most important by far, and it's going to make you not only age better biologically, but it also would make you age better as far as your hormones, everything. I think the way that you carry yourself makes you look better than any cream can ever do.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's just gave me a smile and made me more beautiful. Wonderful. Well, I hope to have you on again, speaking more about some of these very interesting ingredients in skincare. Have a wonderful day. Good night, good morning, wherever you guys are, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Take care.